Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are falling down the rabbit hole into one of the most wonderfully bizarre and famous stories ever written, Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So get ready, because we're taking a trip into a brilliant world where absolutely nothing is what it seems.
So our whole adventure kicks off with Alice, who is just incredibly bored. She's sitting with her sister on a hot day, and this one little thought pops into her head. What's the use of a book without pictures or conversations? And honestly, that really sets the stage perfectly for what's about to happen. She's about to enter a world where the pictures and conversations are, well, they're anything but ordinary.
And just like that, her totally boring day gets turned upside down. She sees something you just don't see every day. A white rabbit with pink eyes, wearing a waistcoat, and pulling out a pocket watch. This is no ordinary rabbit, and he's about to lead her on the adventure of a lifetime.
Now, what's really interesting here is what makes her chase after him. I mean, a talking rabbit, that's weird enough, but the book says it was the waistcoat and the watch that really did it. That's what made her completely forget about everything else and just follow. She doesn't even think for a second about how she's going to get back out. And this fall, it's not a quick tumble. No, she falls so slowly that she has time to look around. She sees cupboards and bookshelves lining the walls. She even grabs an empty jar of marmalade. And her mind is just racing with these funny questions, wondering if she'll fall all the way through the earth to what she calls the antipathies, and, of course, the age-old question, do cats eat bats? She finally lands, totally unhurt, in this long hall that's just filled with locked doors. And this, right here, is where her adventure really kicks off. It's also where she starts to have this major struggle with her own sense of self, all thanks to the completely frustrating and bizarre rules of this new world.
So her first big challenge is this crazy cyclical puzzle. She drinks from the bottle and she shrinks. But oh no, now she can't reach the key on the table. So she eats the cake and she grows, but now she's way too big to fit through the door. Every single solution just creates a new, opposite problem, until she gets so big and frustrated that she starts crying a whole pool of her own tears.
You know, as her body is just shrinking and growing in these totally impossible ways, her whole understanding of the world is warping right along with it. And that famous line, curiouser and curiouser, it's not just about what's around her. It's about her own body behaving in a way that she just can't make sense of anymore. And all these radical changes, they trigger a full-on identity crisis. I mean, after all that shrinking and growing, she's forced to ask this really fundamental question. She genuinely doesn't feel like herself anymore, and she starts to question if she's even Alice at all.
This crisis just gets deeper and deeper as she tries to figure things out. She tries to remember things she knows, objective facts that prove she's Alice, but everything comes out scrambled. Her multiplication is wrong, her geography is a mess, and even a simple poem she knows by heart comes out all twisted. And this is what convinces her she must have been swapped for another girl.
So after she finally escapes the hall by shrinking and literally falling into the pool of her own tears, Alice finds herself in a world full of creatures who operate on a logic that is just completely, utterly alien to her.
Okay, so her first big encounter is with something called the caucus race. The whole point is for everyone to get dry, but the way they do it is just absurd. Like the dodo explains, there are no rules, no starting line, no finish line, and somehow everyone wins. It's the perfect introduction to how things work in Wonderland. Pointless, but taken very seriously. It almost feels like a parody of a political committee meeting, right? Lots of running around, but nothing actually gets done.
Next up, she meets a caterpillar who's smoking a hookah. You'd think he'd have some wise advice, right? Nope, he just throws her own question right back at her. All his comments are short, contradictory, and his logic is totally circular. It just makes her even more confused. When she complains that changing sizes is confusing, he just flat out says, it isn't. So helpful. And then her journey leads her to the iconic, grinning Cheshire Cat. And he gives her the very first, and maybe the only, truly honest explanation of this world. He doesn't argue, he doesn't try to confuse her, he just lays out the one fundamental rule of Wonderland. And get this, he even offers his own weird little proof of his madness. It's a perfect but completely absurd piece of logic. He basically just inverts how a normal dog behaves, and by doing that, he proves he's mad. It perfectly shows you the upside-down thinking that runs everything here.
From there, she walks right into the famous Mad Tea Party. And this isn't just some quirky get-together, it is a world completely stuck in a time loop. The Hatter explains that he had a fight with Time, who by the way is a he, and as punishment it's now stuck at 6 o'clock forever. Always tea time. So they're just forced to move around the table from one dirty place setting to the next for all eternity.
So Alice finally makes it into that beautiful garden she saw through the tiny door. But it's not the peaceful escape she was hoping for.
Oh no.
Instead, it's the home of a furious tyrant who has a real passion for a very, very strange sport.
The Queen's croquet game is just pure chaos, mainly because nothing is inanimate object. The mallets are live flamingos that keep looking up at you, the balls are live hedgehogs that unroll and just wander off, and the arches are soldiers who get up and walk away whenever they feel like it. It's a game that is literally impossible to play.
Yeah, and the game has no real rules, except for one. Whatever the Queen of Hearts says, goes. She just stomps around in a rage, yelling her one and only solution for every single problem, no matter how tiny. Mr. Shot, a hedgehog wanders off, it's all met with the exact same sentence.
But in the middle of all this chaos and the constant threat of, being beheaded, Alice starts to learn a really important lesson. Maybe the threats in Wonderland aren't quite as real as they sound.
She runs into the Duchess again, who is suddenly super affectionate, and she's got this new obsession, finding a complicated moral in literally everything, from the taste of mustard to the game of croquet, all while digging her sharp chin right into Alice's shoulder.
And this is where it all changes. After the Queen storms off to go oversee some executions, a creature called the Griffin lets Alice in on Wonderland's biggest secret. The Queen's furious sentences, it's all just talk. It's a fantasy. Nobody ever actually gets executed. The threat is completely empty. So Alice's whole journey started with her chasing a rabbit into a world of impossible logic. She ended up in races with no winners, listening to riddles with no answers, and facing down a terrifying queen whose threats meant absolutely nothing. It really makes you wonder, right? If all the rules are nonsense and all the punishments are fake, then what's the point of any of it?